welcome once again back to Utah Motorsports Campus here at Grantsville, Utah for the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West by Yokohama. We are here for race 2 of the weekend. Yesterday certainly was enlightening out here amongst the beautiful mountains, but I'm Joe Peak back once again here with Ashley Freiberg, and we talked after the race last time about what we learned from that. Who are you eyeing that seemed to be looking good yesterday?
Oh man, I mean, really all of the front runners have a chance today. That start yesterday was really exciting, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes today. But I mean, Blake's super strong. Casey, I was just talking to James as well. It sounds like he made some adjustments and he's feeling confident there. And then you have Kevin Woods, who did a fantastic job in the Masters class, as well as Jim Walsh, too, was right there ready for some action. So we'll see how this goes today.
There you can see this beautiful facility, not just the racetrack, but you can see the karting track over there. They also have rallycross as well, and it's surrounded by the most picturesque of mountains you could ask for. But drivers are not focusing on that. They are looking at the track, which they'll be gridding up on very shortly. And it's certainly been one where a few have had to learn, as some of the drivers are visiting here for the first time to try and compete. But two different classes competing out there today, or excuse me, three different classes competing with the 992 Pro-Ams, the 992 Masters, and the Caymans. There is a Cayman Masters and a Cayman Pro-Am, but there's only 5 cars. As we take a look at the track here, we saw some big moves attempted into Sunset Bend, but even with that long straight, Ashley, it seemed like it could be tough.
Yeah, I was talking to Laura at the before the race today, and she was mentioning as well that as long as you can stay alongside someone through turn 1, even if you're on the outside, you'll end up on the inside of 2, which is definitely where you want to be to make a position. So there are some great opportunities to pass here at this track, so it'll be an interesting race today for sure.
So in the background, you can even see that that rallycross track that we were talking about with the very spectacular looking jump, but we're waiting for the cars to grid up here for today. They set their qualifying order by the qualifying we had yesterday morning, where the driver's fastest lap will determine their starting order for the first race, and the second fastest lap will determine the start order for this race. And it looks like we've got a little bit of a first-person view of the track. In fact, you were talking about Laura Eli. Let's get her perspective here at Utah Motorsports Campus.
Hi, everyone. It's Laura Eli, driver of the 209 992 GT3 Cup car in the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West for a lap around Utah Motorsports Campus Outer Loop. Going down the front straight, it's very long. You hit 6th gear, going into turn 1, at your maximum speed of about 150 miles an hour. Hard on the brakes, downshift to 3rd. Turn in, it's a late apex. Get back on the gas, and heading for turn 2. Turn 2 is a fast corner to the right. 4th gear, throttle maintenance. On the gas to turn 3, another throttle maintenance corner, very little braking, lots of fast corners here. Flat out through turn 5, coming into turn 6. Turn 6 is a hard braking zone, lots of passing here, down to 2nd gear, hit the apex, back on the gas, heading to turn 6. Turn 6, another opportunity for passing hard on the brakes, downshift to 2nd, late apex, on the gas, getting ready to go to turn 7. Turn 7 is another fast, long right-hander. Lift, stay on the middle of the track over to the right, going into the attitudes. Stay on the curb on the left, downshift, hard on the gas, back out over the top, heading to turn 10. Hard on the brakes, down to 3rd gear, hit the apex, back on the gas, heading to the next corner, going to upshift to 5th, downshift, hard on the brakes, go left, hit the apex, stay right, going into the final couple corners, downshift to 2nd, hard on the gas, hard on the brakes, downshift to 2nd again, get down on the apex, and wind up back to the front straight. And that's a lap around the Newtown Motorsports campus and a loop.
Cars are lined up on the grid, so let's go to our starting order for today's race here for the second event of the weekend. Row 1 sees Blake McDonald on the pole for the second time next to Casey Dennis once again. Can he manage to beat him down to turn 1? Jim Walsh will be starting in third, followed by Sam Parnagian next to him there in P4. Then you get back to row 3, where Kevin Woods had an excellent race yesterday, as we mentioned. He'll be starting next to James Lee, who might be wanting a little bit of redemption after he slid off the track. Novikov also had a bit of an incident into turn 1. He'll start from 7th, as 8th sees Josh Conley there on the outside of row 4. Then we head off to row number 5, and Laura Eli going to be starting in 9th overall. Kyle Washington will start next to her in 10th to carry on their battle that they've been having for much of the season now. And then we head back to row 6, where Luke French starts from P11. He worked his way up the order last time very well and had a great finish, passing a lot of cars along the way, as Reinhold Kron will start in the 12th position. And in our final row, starting on row 7, it's going to be Michael Zweiback is our last driver. Let's go to the Caymans, Ashley.
Starting on pole, we have Eli Kogan, who's had a pretty dominant season so far. Alongside him, we'll have Sean Kelashadi in second. In third place, we're going to have Richard Kinsey with Greg Herback right alongside him. And we will have Michael Gawke starting 5th.
So there are your 19 cars going to be taking part in today's race, as the Porsche pace car leads them around through a single pace lap that they will have here today. Slightly warmer out there, but the track has obviously seen a lot more action. We had, in fact, some warm-up and some more testing earlier this morning, Ashley. How much do you think the offset between the heat and the rubber being put down are we going to see?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to find out. We looked at the times this morning. It didn't look like they were going that much quicker, so I think the heat is definitely making a difference. In terms of handling as well, the heat definitely changes these cars too. So tire pressures are a big deal, as well as the temperatures rise. And since they've only got one pace lap here, they are going to be starting on brand new sticker tires. So as a driver, you're really thinking about warming those tires up and bringing those tire pressures up as quickly and efficiently as possible. So when you're heading down into turn 1, you have that grip.
Could see a few of them weaving to try and get that temperature into the tires. For those not familiar, we have 35 minutes plus 1 lap
Safety
for
car, lights
this
out. You are in this
race.
time,
So
in this
as
time.
you
Lights
can hear,
out, please.
safety car going to be heading in. That is the voice of Morgan Healy, our race control. Going to be on the voice comms there, letting everybody know what they can and can't do out on the track. Looks like they're already heading through Witchcraft here, so a little less than half a lap to go. And then if you've got anything to prove after yesterday, now's the time to do it. Down through the attitudes, which we've definitely enjoyed watching the cars go through over the course of this weekend. And then out through Tuella. Unfortunately, this is the spot where we lost one of our cars before we even got to qualifying. Patrick Mulcahy, if you were expecting him racing this weekend, he had a pretty big accident in practice and totaled the car. They've had to put it under the sheet and put the garage door down and call it a weekend before they even got started. So that was extremely gutting for them, and definitely a lot of work to prepare that car and get it back ready to go. Looks like the pace car is releasing the field, so now control being given over to Blake and Casey. Now, last time, Blake Dennis did not get off on the start very well. They called the green, and he didn't seem to go, so he said he won't repeat that mistake. Let's see if he is right on that one as they come out of the final turn. And it does look like they're already picking up speed a little bit. I think he's underway. Green flag is out. They accelerate down to turn 1, being led by Blake McDonald with Casey Dennis just behind. Looks like Blake has got a pretty good run around the outside. He's going to have the racing line coming down into turn 1. What's it going to look like, though, as the GT4 or the Caymans also take the green flag down at the start finishes? We got a car around. That looks like Jim Walsh.
Turn 1.
Yeah, it looked like James Lee actually might have dropped a couple tires in the dirt there. Might have come up alongside Jim Walsh. What a bummer. He's had a few races like this where he's been hit out of his control, really. Just wrong place, wrong time.
Oh, and he's getting going just as the Caymans also start to come through, so that's going to make life even more difficult for him. And look at this. Dennis hot on the heels of McDonald for the lead as they come down into right hook, forcing McDonald to look like he's even going defensive there, Ashley.
Yeah, I'm sure Casey Dennis is on a mission today. Blake has had a pretty dominant season so far, so Casey always right behind on his tails.
Heading up through Witchcraft now as we check a little bit farther back there momentarily. Look like side by side between Washington, and I didn't see who else was in there with him. Don't want to do that through the attitudes. We'll see if they come out the other side with whole cars.
Yeah, and it looks like Josh Conley had a great start as well. He's up into 3rd place with James Lee right behind and Kyle Washington as well. So quite the mix up there at the start. We saw where they were 3 wide heading into turn 1 before Jim got clipped there.
A little bit of a look from Washington as he's trying to overtake on Lee. Yeah, Conley making a good recovery as Rilo Kron. I think that was Dmitry Novikov who almost made contact, or did they? It looks like Novikov has turned around.
215 spun.
Or no, excuse me, that is Luke French in the 215. He's going to get going again just as our Caymans start to approach. So no full course yellow. But that is almost kind of bad news, Ashley, for both Walsh and for French. They kind of need that to catch back up.
Yeah, super tough break for both of them. Hopefully we get a full course yellow at some point so they can catch back up. But this track is just proving to be really tough to make positions. You have to be super confident when you're trying to make a pass here. Otherwise, contact is pretty likely to take place.
Well, and I'm checking to see if we have any news from race control. I don't see anything yet as to the 2 contacts that we just witnessed, or at least I think the second incident looked like it was contact. We hop on board with Jim Walsh. Looks like I think he's gotten by all of our cars here in the Cayman category. So now it is just flat out. I'm guessing Jim is nothing but qualifying laps from here.
Yeah, I'm sure he was leading the Masters class before that took place, so I'm sure he's got that fire behind him now to make as much ground as possible.
Yeah, so that means that McDonald and Dennis and Conley are your leaders in the 992 Pro-Am. Kyle Washington, Kevin Woods, and Novikov lead down in the Masters for the 992s. Your order in the Caymans sees Eli Kogan ahead of Richard Kenzie with Sean Kelashadi in 3rd amongst those 5. I think perhaps Michael Gawke may have retired in the 99 because he is already a lap down. So not sure we'll see him back out. Down to 4 cars in that category. Now we ride with Luke French coming out to the last portion of the lap.
Bringing us back to the leaders. We've got Blake McDonald and Casey Dennis battling it out up front, starting to pull away from Josh Conley. James Lee right behind there. I know when I spoke to him earlier, he was mentioning that his car was a little bit on the oversteery side yesterday, so he made some adjustments this morning. Oh, he's looking to make a pass there in turn 1.
Right now watching Dennis, his teammate, though, still trailing behind in the background. Nope, looks like Conley held on to that 3rd place. So he held him off for now. Oh, another try down to the inside. And that's where he lost the car through 1, 2, and 3 last time. So he's got to be careful.
Exactly. He's got to be smart about this. Timing it at the right place and time. This is 4 position in class as well. He makes the pass work going down into turn 5. Nice job.
And this also puts him onto the podium, not just in class, but overall. Tries to fend off the inside once again down into right hook. Look at Washington start to get close behind them as well. And how about Kevin Woods, who we saw do amazing things once he got track position yesterday. So if he can maybe get into the mix, he could be an interesting character to lead his Masters class.
Yeah, this is very reminiscent of yesterday, this group of cars here from P3 really down to, gosh, P9, all battling it out. So it'll be interesting to see how this starts to mix up as the race goes on.
Looks like Conley is still very close behind Lee, so he could try and re-attack depending on the exit he gets out of release. Let's watch here as once again Washington taking a shallower line, just showing his nose down into windup. But here's the important one, 180 degrees out of release, trying to get on the throttle as early as you can, and they send it down the front stretch.
Blake McDonald pulling a little bit of a lead there on Casey Dennis. He's about 9/10 ahead, and then behind you've got James Lee trying to run down his teammate of Casey up there in second place.
Thought I saw Washington maybe have a little look there at the inside. Not quite there, but he's awful close. So Conley, who had a great start to this one, is somewhat slipping backwards, or at least is under threat from losing a second position in 2 laps.
You could see there he ran a little bit wide in that last corner. These cars are definitely super aero dependent, so in those higher speed corners, the closer you are tucked up behind another car, the more challenging it is to make that position.
Official with car 233, drive-through penalty for incident responsibility. Car 233, drive-through.
So that's Reinhold Kron, and I believe that was the touch with Luke French into the second to last corner. So he's going to get a drive-through for that contact. We'll see when he serves that one, and if he'll get back out with enough time to try and catch them back up as we watch Pardagian on the back of Woods here. Again, we saw this yesterday as well. Pardagian competing in the Pro-Ams versus Woods, who's competing in the Masters.
Yeah, this is the joy of multi-class racing, is you have to really analyze your competitors around you, and if you happen to be in between other classes, making sure you position yourself in the right spot so you can race against your own class. So Pardagian is currently 7th. The next driver in his class is up in 4th. So I'm sure he's trying to get his way by Kevin and Kyle to start battling for that 4th position.
You definitely nailed it on the head when you said this is looking so reminiscent of yesterday, just this entire train of cars in the same positions too, from third on back essentially, although it does seem like that Lee is starting to pull away, so can he catch up to his teammate Casey Dennis as well? I wonder if maybe there was a bit of comparison after yesterday's race between Casey and James to kind of go over the data and see where he can pick up some pace.
Yeah, for sure. It's always a good thing to have that friendly competition within the team, especially if you have a driver that's super quick. As another driver, you can learn a ton from them, looking over data, comparing notes, and even car setup as well.
Turn 1, we've got car 240 off driver's right, exit of turn 1.
That's Zweiback. So Mike Z's found a problem, and he's not moving here. Let's see if he can get that thing going.
240 remains off track, driver's right, exit of turn 1.
So the Cayman should be coming up to him pretty quickly. You were saying he was feeling pretty disappointed this weekend, and this is not helping, I'm sure.
Yeah, he was saying before that he's usually very strong at this track, so I'm not sure what's going on, if he's got some kind of car issue here. It looks like he just pulled off the track, so looks like he's starting to get the car restarted here. Hopefully he can continue on.
There it is. It looks like it is the paved
240
runoff.
remains off course, driver's right, exit of turn 1.
Yeah, if he can't get it restarted, if we go for course yellows, I'm sure some drivers will be excited about that, but I'm really hopeful Michael can get it started again and get back out there.
Yeah, so let's wait patiently, see if this will
Full
remain
course
green.
yellow,
And
full
there
course yellow,
is the
safety
full
car,
course
go now,
yellow.
Go now, safety car,
So it
course
looks
yellow
like
the
for
240
French and
exit of
Walsh,
turn 1,
things
driver's right, go now,
are
safety car,
significantly
208,
turning
safety
around.
car speed, please,
Now,
208, safety car speed.
did we get Kron serving his penalty yet? Because I don't know if he has, and I assume he's not allowed to serve it under caution.
All right, everyone, 240 is
All right, it looks
continuing
like
on his
Michael
own
did
from
get
turn
started
1.
again, so hopefully he can finish this race. We'll see if he pulls back into pit lane, if he does have some kind of car issue, but all things seem to be okay right now.
And
This safety car just went out as well to gather up the rest of the pack.
And I can report that, actually, No, that was Cron that just went by us. I thought it said on the timing screen that he hadn't gone through. I'll have to double check on the rules on that to see if that counts as serving his drive-through, because he's going to be able to line up at the back of him. It essentially turns it into an end of longest line penalty at that stage.
Yeah,
right,
usually
we
you
need
have
all
to
cars
save
to
the drive-through
pack
for
up,
a
please. All
green
cars to pack
flag,
up.
so we'll see what race control
Safety
says.
car, lights out. You are in this time,
All right,
time.
so
Lights out, please.
this is good news, is that this is such a short caution because of Mike Z being able to get back out and get going once again. So we won't have to wait terribly long. In fact, I think it's only going to just be a single pace lap behind the safety car before they're released and be on their way, which is good news because we still have plenty of time left. We're 24 minutes left on the clock, so I'm guessing around 23 left by the time they get it going. Although I say that, I'm looking out to the attitudes. Mike Z is going very slowly right now.
Yeah, that's not looking so good for
All right,
Michael
safety
there,
car
so
in field.
hopefully
You
he
are
can
coming
at
up on
least get the car back in the
240,
pit lane.
Coming up on the 240. All cars may pass the 240.
All right, so I guess he is not able to get it fully up to speed, so they're going to be allowed to pass him, which means he's going to go another lap down, as I don't believe he was able to get it started in time before they came back around. But this should still allow us to go green as long as he's able to drive it all the way back to pit lane. It is definitely in limp home mode because he is heading around at what looks like about 30 or 40 miles an hour as he allows them by down out of Tuella Corner.
And we have Michael Gawke here in the timing and scoring. Not a place that we want to see him here, but we're happy to see his smiling face. So unfortunately, he did have to retire that car, as we see.
Yeah, well, I'm glad he's in good spirits, though, so we'll see if he has any desire to come and chat with us or if he just wants to kind of enjoy the race from up here. It is a decent view, but looks like it should be getting a little bit faster in a moment as the pace car is indeed in pit lane now. Giving it back over to our leader, Blake McDonald. Green flag is out. He goes immediately. It isn't the biggest of jumps over Casey Dennis. Can Casey try and slice one up the inside here?
We got James Lee right behind, so we saw that battle between those two over in Spring Mountain. It'll be interesting to see if that carries on here.
Absolutely. And they were not afraid of racing aggressively before, actually made contact at one point. And
Josh Conley spins around at the exit of turn 2.
Turn 3, turn 2, really. 299, fun. Driver's right, exit of turn 2. Car 299.
Looked like he just went to throttle or to power just a little too aggressively there. Maybe his tires dropped pressure there on that pace lap when we were in that full course yellow.
Oh, that's a good point, yeah.
All right, everyone, car 299 remains driver's right, exit of turn 2.
So it sounds like he's still struggling to get it going. I did see the flashers on there in that shot. Not a good sign. Hopefully we'll get going so we don't go right back to full course caution once again. And such a real shame because it seemed like Conley was doing a great job in this race compared to the problems he suffered in the first one.
Yeah, he had a super strong start, jumping all the way up into third and then running strong in fourth. Does look like he continued on, so who knows what could happen. We might get another caution. He can work his way forward.
Yep, I see him on the track map now. He is on his way and rolling, but our leader's already down into windup, getting ready to take release. Let's see if we had any position changes while we weren't looking, distracted by that spin. I can see McDonald coming out of the final corner here, still being chased by Casey Dennis with Lee in third place. So right now that WRE team holding down two of the spots on the podium.
Yeah, we'll see how this starts to play out now with this new order we've got going on here. Again, Sam Parnagian is right on the tail of Kevin Woods there. Again, he's in between two cars that are in the Masters class, so he would have to pass those two cars to start battling with James Lee, which would be for position in class. Looks like he is kind of peeking to the outside there, trying to plan his pass. So we'll see how that goes back there. James Lee is keeping up with Blake and Dennis.
So it looks like the starting position definitely a part of his situation there. He's got the speed, at least to stick with him. Now, can he manage to actually catch up and put an attempt at a pass through there as they work their way through the right hook and out of knockout towards Witchcraft? You can see a bit of a battle back here as well with Parnagian still stuck between Woods and Novikov. But now we check out Walsh. Here is a man with a job to do, as he is currently in 10th place and sitting 5th in class with a buffet of cars in front of him.
Yeah, he actually made quite a few positions after that incident there on lap 1, turn 1. So he is definitely charging forward. He was all the way back in 13th place.
So that is a great run here to start things off. Now, how many more can he get from here to try and make up for a bit of a problem at the start of the race? Not the way he wanted things to go, but he's handling it in stride, it looks like, as Woods still has Parnagian trying to see if he can get by, because he wants to catch up to Lee and fight for that podium position with him running 4th in the Pro-Am. But just amongst them, Novikov also wants to try and catch up to Woods up there, and that's forcing Sam to try and not only go defensive, but maybe try to simultaneously see if he can set up a pass. We try to peek through the grandstands here, and he is not able to get by Woods.
This is one of the tough things about being in a pack of cars on a track like this where it's difficult to pass, is now you're kind of getting bunched up with other classes there. You saw him get a little bit squirrely on the exit, and Dimitri's trying to take advantage of that, although Sam manages to hang on. So now Sam needs to focus forward here so we can get by Kevin Woods. Oh my goodness, now Laura's looking to the inside of Dimitri. So we're getting a lot of action back here for sure.
We haven't talked about Laura a whole lot in this race. She's just been kind of hanging around. Maybe it's go time.
269 and 255. Turn 1, lap 1 will be reviewed post-race.
Oh, no. So that was Jim Walsh involved in that incident that I think took Conley off the track. So life could get worse for him, unfortunately. But I guess he like you said, he just needs to put the visor down and do what he's got to do.
Yeah, that was between James Lee and Jim Walsh. So they're going to review that after the race is over. So we'll see. Okay,
so, and I do have a note that the 233 drive-through was served. So he is good. And also you heard that they are reviewing the drivers who made contact just moments ago. Now, with 16 minutes left on the clock, Lee dropping back a little bit now. Maybe Casey Dennis has a few tricks up his sleeve still and is trying to run away, whereas much like last time, it's Washington and Woods up at the front of the second pack, except this time it's Washington at the lead of the Masters class. Woods hasn't really, I think, been a threat from what we've seen since this last restart.
Yeah, and then going back to our Cayman class, we have Eli Kogan in the lead. Sean Kelashadi not making it easy for him, though. He's not too far behind there, running in second place.
Just a little bit of a note, not this last lap, but the one before, Greg Herbach set a personal best lap. Remember, he's one of those newer drivers that we were talking about, coming in, running now his second competitive race. Yesterday was his first. And didn't have really a whole lot of lofty goals other than to try and finish the race and improve his time. So if he's setting personal bests at this stage, I'd say that's one of the goals that he's starting to hit out here.
Yeah, the Cayman is really a fantastic car. It's a lot faster than I actually thought it would be. It was funny at Sebring. I just happened to look over in between one of my sessions at them running through turn 17, which is a really fast bumpy corner, and they were hauling. It was so cool to see. So I know these cars are challenging to drive, but super rewarding once you start to really figure it out. So these guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, for those that are used to the Cayman GT4 Club Sport, this is slightly different because this is single make. they do not have the BOP that you'd have in multi-make series. So the engines are more powerful. That is what introduces the greater amount of speed that they have in this series. And I've heard nothing but praise from every single one of the drivers that they love how fast they are.
Coming back up to our 992 class, Casey Dennis just made quite a bit of ground on Blake McDonald that lap. So he's just 0.8 behind. James Lee right behind in third. And Kyle Washington hanging on to the lead in the Masters class as well.
Yeah, Washington now about 1.5 seconds behind Lee. So I'll have to check the lap time, see if he's actually gaining. Lee certainly a greater distance behind, as it's very reminiscent of yesterday up at the front as well between McDonald and Dennis. This is about how they looked for much of the race, but the good news for Casey is that caution flag meant that he lost a lot less, because yesterday went straight green from lights to finish.
Yeah, and you can see even driving through these corners, just the attitude of his car looks a lot calmer today. It seems like maybe they made a few setup changes in that warm-up this morning. Also, the temperature is a lot different today. It's getting warmer as this race goes on too, so I'm sure that the car is, for everyone, changing handling-wise. So it seems to be working out for Casey pretty well. So we'll see how close he gets, if he manages to get right up on the tail there and maybe try to make a pass.
Well, and you have to wonder, can he make a clean pass? Because we've seen a number of attempts today that didn't quite go so well. I feel like he's got to get right up on top of him, won't he? Because those who've just simply chucked it in have wound up with one of the cars spun.
Yeah, I mean, really planning your pass is super key here. So I'm sure as he's even driving around right now, he's analyzing where his strengths and weaknesses are, making sure you want to get a good exit coming out of the previous corner of the corner that you want to make a pass in, so you get that run on the straightaway. And you have to be very decisive with your passes. You have to be right up alongside them so they know you're there. Otherwise, if you're only peeking a nose into the inside, that driver in front won't see you, and that's where that contact takes place.
So it's a bit of a back and forth between Washington and Lee for what it's worth. Not within class, but again for an overall podium, which I'm sure Kyle would really like here. But this time by Kyle was a hair slower than James, who has picked it up. But last lap before, it was 0.7 in the favor of Kyle Washington. That said, lap times for McDonald and Dennis consistently almost a second faster than James Lee. So they have turned on the afterburners.
Yeah, Casey was actually 0.3 quicker than Blake that time around. So he is slowly reeling Blake in. But again, the key here is to be as smooth as possible, preserving your Yokohama tires as much as possible. We do still have 12 minutes remaining plus a lap. So it is still quite a bit of time.
On board with Luke French there for a brief moment as he was chasing behind Laura Eli. Not racing within the same class, but definitely for 8th overall, down through Bad Attitude once again. And that looks a little closer than it was before, I'd swear, between Dennis and McDonald.
I'd say so. I'm sure Blake is panicking a little bit. He's been so used to being out there on his own. I'm sure seeing Casey in his mirrors is quite possibly rattling a little bit. So we'll see how this goes. Because once you start to get in this game where you're really close together for the lead, it does become a little bit more of a mental game or a chess game more than anything.
And it does look like Casey is suddenly coming to fore here with plenty of time left. 11 minutes left on the clock, plus one lap, of course. And as they flash past this time, just half a second between the pair of them. Slightly faster for Dennis by 0.05 of a second. So I guess gains are gains, but he'll need to be just slightly faster to really have an attempt at a pass as they come through turn one, then back through Dreamboat here as it just slides back and forth through a series of swift S's at the start of this lap.
I'm sure as Casey's getting closer to Blake, he's probably starting to feel it's called aero wash, which is when you're really close to that car in front of you, your aerodynamics don't work quite as well. So you can see him sort of offsetting his car a few times from Blake to keep those aerodynamics working for him. So it does become more challenging to get by people as you get closer.
Yeah, that's going to be so difficult, especially with how twisty some parts of this track is. They'll head out of right hook there. Pardon me, as we watch them now head through the attitudes. And still, this remains one of our closest battles up for the overall lead and the Pro-Am lead right here. Just behind there. Wow, yeah, flashing past. You saw a bit of Lee this last lap between him and Washington. Very close, honestly, about a tenth slower for Kyle Washington. But I think it feels like he's getting a little bit bigger in his mirrors. Was that a slide from Dennis?
I was just saying, I saw that starting to build a few corners prior. Casey is definitely pushing really hard to get by Blake, but it's really quite possibly hurting his tires. And he is actually losing a little time to Blake there. So hopefully he can gather it back up and reel him back in again. Yeah,
we heard Laura talk about kind of preserving her tires and saving them for the end of the race back at Spring Mountain. I mean, how much do you really have to worry about how you're abusing these tires? Because this isn't a long race, but these are the same cars that you've been competing in over in the North American Series.
Yeah, I think just the 992, when it's at its peak performance, it's a very small window. So to stay within that window, you just have to be very precise with your driving and very smooth. And yeah, anytime you're sliding, you're creating a little bit of damage to the tire. So every time you slide, it just kind of progressively gets worse. And especially if it's really warm outside, today is definitely warmer than yesterday. We don't have any cloud cover here, so the track temperature is quite warm. So these are all things you do have to think about. And it's hard. As a racer, you want to win. You want to pass people. You want to lead. But sometimes you do have to let the leader pull away a little bit at the start, let them wear their tires out earlier so that later in the race you can make that opportunity happen for you.
Kind of a tortoise in the hare thing, just
yeah, exactly.
Slow and steady wins the race.
And a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
Even though it's sprint racing, but
yeah. Well, I often say that it's more about who gets to that checkered flag first and not about who sets the fastest lap. So we'll see who does indeed reach that checkered flag first here as these two separate slightly, now back up to a second. So maybe Dennis does need to cool off those tires as they do continue to run away from James Lee, who sits on the bottom step of the podium right now in the Pro-Ams. Kyle Washington still leading in the Masters category. I know we haven't talked about them in a while, but Eli Kogan is currently leading by about 2 seconds over Sean Kelashadi down in the Caymans. Hasn't been a whole lot to report on down there. They're just ticking off the laps.
Yeah, Sean Kelashadi's having a great race, though. There was a bit of a larger gap yesterday between him and Eli, so Sean definitely has a bit more pace today, which is really cool to see.
We watch Blake here. A little bit of slide from him as well. Definitely leaning on this car, trying to get some pace out of it, but it's up to 1.5 seconds this time by. So that black and yellow machine is certainly humming along at this stage. Can he keep it that way all the way to the finish? Keep it from making mistakes as well. We've seen a few drivers have difficulties in some of these corners as it's a fast track, but certainly seems quite technical in places.
For sure. Yeah, I was speaking to a few people yesterday. Blake has actually been approaching this season super smart. He's been doing a lot of testing and some coaching from Riley Dickinson, who was last year's Carrera Cup champion. Definitely knows this car inside and out. So he's definitely putting his all into this season, and it's showing.
Yeah, it's been hard to beat him once he gets up to the front. So he'll certainly have his he'll give everyone a run for their money for that championship. But they're going to have a hard time if these first two rounds are anything to go on in the Sprint Challenge USA West by Yokohama Series. But we watch them come out of Tuella Corner down towards Clubhouse, one of the places we thought maybe we'd see some sneak attacks, but not quite this time. This race really hasn't seen many drivers trying to attempt one into there, although look at the distance between Woods and Washington. That's been staying probably unnervingly close for Kyle pretty much this entire race.
Yeah, for sure. These are battling for the lead in the Masters class. So I'm sure Kyle's is doing whatever he can to focus forward. He is actually catching James Lee, who is third overall and third in the pro class. So if he can manage to get James maybe in between him and Kyle, that would be really helpful for Kyle for sure. But I think right now he's just focusing on maintaining that lead as much as he can.
Don't make mistakes. Just keep it on the island. We already know it's going to be tough to try and overtake. So that's a big job being put in the lap of Kevin Woods, more so than anything, watching from on board Washington here as he sends it down into turn one. 156 miles an hour, it looks like he topped out at by the time he slams on the brakes.
Yeah, it was kind of cool to see him there heading down into turn one. It looked like he was making some adjustments inside the car. As I was mentioning yesterday, there are some things you can do inside the car as the track is changing, as the race is going on. You can adjust your ABS settings, your brake bias settings, and sometimes you do that from corner to corner depending on how the handling is in each corner. So it's kind of cool to see him making some adjustments there.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up because, again, as someone who's been a fan of racing for so long, I had sort of an interesting revelation yesterday where I had friends over who are not necessarily race fans and showed them the inside of one of the cars, and one of their comments was that the steering wheel looked like an Xbox controller. They didn't know that there were so many buttons, and I had to explain that, a part of being a racing driver is a lot of managing things other than just driving the car.
Yes, yeah. The 992 is so advanced. There's so much information inside the car that is super beneficial from a driver's perspective. And you're always looking at temperatures, your tire pressures as you're going and everything like that, as well as your dash. You could see what your lap time is, if you're up or down in each corner. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and then obviously you're always communicating to your engineers as well over the radio.
215 at turn 6 is under review.
So there was some contact there recently, because that's different from the other incident that was mentioned. So is that 269 and 215 I heard? So is that Walsh again? I think it is. And he's currently scored ahead of Luke French, so maybe that was involved in an overtake that he made there. He's been giving the stewards plenty to do as we see a big defense from Kyle as Woods has decided he's had enough. With little time left, he's going to try and make a go at it.
Yeah, he was trying to make it work there heading into turn 13.
Turn 6
lost a little bit of ground there, but
no action.
So no action, they say, between Walsh and French. So must have been another rubbing his racing sort of situation between the pair of them. And not able to make that overtake. Now Woods has to regroup and try again. He's got 2 minutes plus a lap left to go, so not much time. He's got to be right on top of him.
yeah, and Sam Parnagian is also right there behind Kevin Woods, potentially looking to make a pass there. He peeked a little bit to the inside there, so it's definitely going to start to get spicy here as the time gets closer to the end.
That's got to be difficult if you're in Woods' position, I imagine. If you're trying to make a pass at the same time that somebody is kind of stalking you, how do you manage the two different things going on inside the cockpit?
Yeah, well, for Kevin's point of view, he doesn't want Sam to get by because he's battling for the lead with Kyle. So, I mean, really, you just have to focus forward as much as possible because that's where you're going, right? If you're looking too much in your mirrors, you can easily kind of get caught up in that and drop backwards. So it's super important to keep focusing forward. Although I just saw Sam Parnagian peeking to the inside of Kevin again there.
Looks like he did not make that pass, but he's still very close to the back of him. So
yeah, and you can see Kyle is actually probably enjoying that battle behind him because now he's starting to pull away the tiniest bit, although he is catching James Lee.
That's been an interesting one because it's not been consistent, but every once in a while it seems like Kyle takes a little bit more off and a little bit more off. And now James Lee, while he doesn't need to fight Kyle Washington, Again, his problem here is Sam Parnagian, and Sam looks just as riled up in this situation, knowing that that is the car that he needs to try and pass. So he's trying to make some moves on Woods and Washington so that he can get to Lee.
Exactly. And Sam also has Dimitri right up on his tail as well.
White
so
flag. Next time by for your current leader, car 208.
we've got white flag coming this time by, so we'll see if he tries to make a move here on Kevin Woods, although it's not for class position, so we'll see if he just wants to keep it clean. But Dimitri, however, wants to get up to Kevin, so that's the other thing Sam will be battling there. He's keeping Dimitri behind him.
There is the 208 of Blake McDonald. Has been a dominant force this weekend. Is showing incredible speed, and now he only has one more lap to go back-to-back this weekend. He's holding off Casey Dennis. Question is, can their teammate Lee manage to hold on to the overall podium, as well as keep Parnagian from pulling any shifty moves here at the end of the race? And lap traffic, it looks like, just to spice things up.
He's flashing his high beams at him like, let me by, because Casey is right behind and actually pulled a quicker lap that time. So he does not want to be held up at all through this situation.
And he caught them through scream. It looked like that may have cost him a little bit. He'll get one. Herback lets him through. And I think that's Kinsey that is now going to allow him by. So that puts a little bit of a bookmark between himself and Dennis, at least temporarily. Can Dennis get by both of them here? And honestly, even if he does, I think he's too far back now.
Yeah, McDonald got super lucky
Starter.
there because
Checker
Dennis
flag
got
next
a little
time by
caught
for
up in
your
that
current
traffic
leader,
and had a
car
little
208.
oversteer
Checker
slide
flag.
there as well. So that gave McDonald quite the lead here for these last couple corners.
Indeed. So down through the attitudes for the last time this weekend. This beautiful, picturesque Utah Motorsports campus going to be very kind to Blake McDonald the way his races have been going. Didn't have the best of starts in the first race, but he said that he was not going to make that same mistake twice, and I'd say he definitely made good on that promise. He sounded even confident on the podium that he was going to bring this one home with a 1-2. And as he comes out of the final corner, Blake McDonald is going to win twice here at Utah Motorsports Campus for the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West by Yokohama.
Yeah, great drive again by Blake. Having a fantastic season. Dennis right behind. And actually, Kyle ended up pulling a little bit further away from Kevin, although Sam did not
everyone.
make that pass work.
Stand
He
by
still ended
for
up
your
fourth
podium
in
and
class.
cars. Once
Sam
again, we need
Parnagian
all
did.
cars to park for May.
And Kyle
for
Washington
crew and
claiming
drivers to
victory in
evacuate
that
park
Masters
for May as
category
quickly as possible.
for today, as Eli
Top
Kogan,
399
coming around these
Pro-Am,
last couple
cars
quarters,
208,
is going to be able to take
274,
victory. Now, I don't know if Kelashati got
255,
lapped.
and 257 is
If
a tech car as well.
not,
That's
then the
208,
lead could still theoretically
274,
change. But if Kelashati got
255,
lapped,
and
then Kogan just
257.
basically gets a victory lap all to his own.
Top 3992 Masters, the
He's heading
232,
through witchcraft right now.
294,
Gap
and
last time across the line
229,
between
that's
himself
232,
and Kelashati was
294,
10 and a
and
half seconds. Wow.
229, car
Eli has been
209,
absolutely
you are
on
tech car as
fire
well, car
this weekend.
209.
And with this being Mother's Day, he's
Top 2 in Cayman
said
Pro-Am, cars
yesterday on the
50
podium that
and
his
7,
wife is now a new mother. So
507.
this has been kind of his gift to take a
Top
victory
3 in
yesterday,
Cayman
and now
Masters,
he'll
the-
add to
the
that.
28, 49, and 99. The 28, 49, and 99.
A few instructions. I didn't quite hear what they were asking there from race control. We'll get clarification a little bit later. In the meantime, Eli Kogan. He has now won 3 out of the 4 races in the Caymans. This has been fantastic stuff. A win for Eli in Utah.
All right, everyone, our Yokohama Apex and Award winner is car 232.
So it sounds like the 232 of Kyle Washington gets the Apex and Award, which is the Hard Charger Award. That'll make life even sweeter for him, coming away with a win on this one. As the checkered flag waves for the last of the cars across the line.
Yeah, that was a great drive by Kyle as well. Super calm and collected. He was always in that group of cars breathing down his neck pretty much the entire race. So the fact that he held on to the lead really strong. Even Kevin was right there trying to make a move on him a few times, but he just stayed, like I said before, calm and collected and made that win happen. So really nice job by Kyle.
Yeah, definitely saw some stars start to emerge on this one. Got a feel for Jim Walsh and the way that his weekend went on this second race. He wound up 9th in class. In fact, why don't we head through our unofficial results for today's race as Blake McDonald takes another victory in the number 208 with Casey Dennis finishing second in that 274. Same as yesterday. This time, though, James Lee is going to be our third place finisher in the 255. Kyle Washington is fourth, but your winner in the Masters category. Kevin Woods second in that Masters, behind him fifth overall. Pernagian just off the podium in the Pro-Am, finishing sixth, with Dmitry Novikov finishing third in your Masters, but seventh overall. Laura Eli behind him, eighth overall. Jim Walsh wound up ninth after quite an exciting race. Luke French doing not too shabby, getting himself a top 10 once again. Then we get to the last few cars here today as Reinhold Kron finished in 11th after serving his drive-through penalty. Josh Conley, unfortunately, winding up off track at one point after he was very strong at the start of the race. He was 12th. Eli Kogan then going to be your winner in the Caymans there, Ashley.
And Sean Kelashadi had a great run, finishing second again today. He also finished second yesterday, so great job by Sean. Richard Kinsey in third, Greg Herback in fourth. Michael Z, unfortunately, he had that issue early on in the race, so he had to retire, as well as Michael Gawke, who we saw up here in timing and scoring with high spirits, but I'm sure it's a tough break for him.
And I believe our next round is COTA. Is that also the USA West? I need to double check on that.
It sure is, and
Yes.
it's also our very first endurance race.
It is indeed.
It will be exciting.
I understand you and Laura Eli have been chatting a lot about preparations for that. Are you looking forward to that?
I'm so excited to run with Laura. She does a fantastic job. She's super quick, and she's been telling me that COTA is one of her strongest tracks as well. So I feel like we have a pretty good shot at it. We'll see.
All right. Well, as you can see, Podium celebrations getting ready to take part. We'll be back with that in a moment. Stick around. There's more to come here in today's broadcast.
The celebrations will take place soon. Please head over to the right-hand side where Nicole is.
Sprint Challenge USA West by Yokohama. We're going to be starting out with our Cayman Masters here today, finishing in third. In the number 99, it's Michael Galki. Finishing P2, racing the number 49, Greg Herback. And our winner in the number 28, it's Richard Kinsey.
Thank you.
Richard, excellent race out there once again. Looked like you had her back behind you for much of the race. Did that caution unfortunately bunch things up for you in a way you didn't want?
You put it very well. You put it perfectly. Yeah. It didn't come out too good on the restart.
The Kimmy answer, yes.
Yeah.
Well, back-to-back wins this weekend as well. That's got to feel pretty good coming through the weekend with kind of a flawless scorecard.
Yeah, it feels great. Had a rough Friday, didn't drive very much, and so this feels great to bounce back.
Well, it sounds like we're going to head off to Dakota. Do you have much experience there down in Texas?
The same amount as I have here, 0.
All right. Well, time to get practicing, I suppose. Congratulations. Before I go, anybody you want to thank?
Well, the whole auto team. I mean, they're amazing. The car is amazing. It's been a great weekend.
Great stuff. That's our winner here, Richard Kinsey in the number 28. Let's show off our trophies. And, of course, let's also spray some champagne. The Cayman Masters. Following that, it's time for the Cayman Pro-Am. Finishing P2, driving the number 7 car, it's Sean Kelishati. Then our winner, once again, in the number 50, Eli Kogan. Well, the Mother's Day gifts keep on coming here. How did it feel out on the track, especially with things being backed up like we had just mentioned before with that full course caution?
It was good. I enjoyed the backup, tighten up the pack, had some fun. This guy was hauling behind me, so fun to have that. It was this guy's first time as the A-Tech on my car, so shout out to Balthazar, and thank you to team at AutoWorks. So it's good.
I mean, and this seems like a relatively new team. Now that you guys are 2 rounds in, does it feel like everybody is gelling?
Yeah, absolutely. New team, new drivers, new cars, and new track, so it's going well.
Well, what does that set for your expectations when we head off to Texas? Do you think you can carry on this form?
I hope so. It'll be really fun to run with the national group, have a big field, and see where we stack up.
Great stuff. Congratulations one last time. Who helped put you in victory lane?
Team at AutoWorks, the Mr. Data Brad and Mr. Engineer Robert. The car was an absolute puppy dog, no bad manners, beginning, middle, and end, so it was awesome.
Love that description, like a puppy dog, as Eli Kogan is your winner in the Cayman Pro-Am. Let's hold up those trophies. And I guess prematurely spray the champagne. That's going to take us now to the 992 Masters. Finishing P3 in the number 229, Dmitry Novikov. Finishing P2, driving the number 294, Kevin Woods. And similar to yesterday, holding off a charging driver for that win, in the 232, it's Kyle Washington.
Kyle, excellent stuff out there. I was mentioning, once again, we saw a lot of pressure from behind on this one. Did you feel like you handled that well out on the track?
I don't know. My neck's sore from looking in the rear view at this guy. His eyes are just right on me and right on my bumper, so I was sweating hard.
It certainly seemed like it. Getting things back on track and getting back onto the top step of the podium. How do you feel championship-wise?
I haven't really got that far yet. Just kind of enjoying the moment here, and we'll figure that math out later.
Sounds good to me. Anybody you want to thank for today's win?
Yeah, sure. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, including mine. Phyllis, thank you. We'll see you for dinner tonight.
I love that. That is Kyle Washington, our winner here today. Let's show off our trophies. And why don't we spray some champagne? That's your winners in the 992 Masters. If Kyle wants to stick around, we have another special award for him. Kyle does not want to stick around. Because it's time for the Apexon Award. And the number 232 Apexon Award goes to the hardest charger of the race, Kyle Washington, once again winning the Apexon Award. Again, Kyle made the most passes on track to win this one. That finally takes us to the 992 Pro-Am. Our overall winners for today's race. Finishing third in the number 255, James Lee. And coming home in second, a valiant effort, but couldn't chase down the leader still, the 274, Casey Dennis in P2. Some sass there. Then our winner, running away both times this weekend, in the number 208, Blake McDonald. Blake, you said you weren't going to make the same mistake twice. I'd say you didn't.
Yeah, I'd say I didn't too. I think we sorted out the issue.
Well, back-to-back wins, but this time things were bunched up in the middle of the race. Did you feel like Casey was going to maybe be able to get past you at some point? Because we saw a few pokes and prods.
Yeah, Casey was crazy fast. I was worried from start to finish. I think he's going to keep me real honest. I think we're going to have a ton of fun this season.
Well, how do you feel like your strength is down at COTA, though? Because if he's any stronger there, then it's certainly going to be an exciting race.
We were just talking about that. We'll see. We'll see.
All right. Who helped put you in victory lane twice this weekend?
Of course, my mom. Thank you, Mom. Love you to death. Happy Mother's Day.
Awesome stuff. Your winner in the 992 Pro-Ams, Blake McDonald. Let's show off our trophies. And for the last time this weekend, let's spray some champagne. Can't thank everybody enough for coming out here to Utah Motorsports Campus. Again, we will be back in just a couple weeks' time when we head to Texas for Circuit of the Americas, along with our first endurance race of the weekend. I'm Joe Peak with Ashley Freiberg this weekend. Race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.